What's happening, guys? Back again for another video, and today I'm taking a look at my top 10 consoles from the last 30 years of gaming. Now, we have plenty to choose from, plenty of handhelds, plenty of desktops and plenty of consoles. I own pretty much most of them, although some are in the States, but nonetheless, here are my top 10 consoles of all time. Rolling in at number 10 is the classic original Game Boy. So the original Game Boy, or Game Boy Original, however way you want to look at it, was a firm part of our household in the early 90s, and it used to get swapped around from person to person while everybody would try to beat each other's score on Tetris. I'm probably not the only family or person, to have kind of done that, but it holds dear nostalgia memories. And it was the first portable gaming system I ever played as well. Now, in the early 90s, we actually played outside on our bikes and climbed trees, and more often than not, we would take our Game Boy out and just kind of sit in the park and play some Tetris or some 6 golden coins. So that was pretty cool, and it just has to be within my top 10. Number 9, guys. Now, admittedly, I didn't play this at all on the first round. It is the Sega Dreamcast, and I've placed it at number 9, and some of you may be thinking, well, why is it not closer to 5 or 4? Again, I didn't play it, and still, it's the console that I know the least about. All I can say is recently I've been getting to grips with some awesome arcade titles like Mr. Driller, thanks to Jess on the Sega Dreamcast, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's got a fantastic colour palette. I think games like Shenmue and Fantasy Star Online, I believe, were awesome titles on the Sega Dreamcast. And again, Sega unfortunately stopped making consoles after this and focused on software. But again, it's a great console and I love it, and it's probably one of my only consoles that isn't going yellow. So in terms of longevity and its aesthetics, it's a solid number 9. At number 8, guys, is another Sega console, and that is the Master System, this being the Mark II. Now, I prefer the Mark II, I'm cheating a little bit here, I prefer the Mark II over the Mark I, as I've always found that this, as a piece of hardware, lasts a little bit longer, it doesn't rattle as much, and I also feel, in kind of holding this thing, it feels a little bit more solid and a little bit more stable than the Mark I. This was the first console experience I ever had, not gaming system. ZX Spectrum was the first I ever played, but actual kind of sit down controller to TV console, this was my first. And what's great about the Master System is there's this great titles, built-in games, I think, was the real kind of pulling power of the Master System. Games like Alex Kidd in Miracle World, I think Super Hang-On and Sonic. So yes, in the early 90s I played on a Master System and I absolutely loved it, and it's, like I say, guys, it's number 8. At 7 then, guys, arguably a lucky 7. Don't hate me for this, but I'm placing the Mega Drive at number 7. Now, I grew up in the bulk of the 16-bit war or era when it was the SNES versus the Mega Drive, and I just had a Mega Drive and I had a SNES, and I leant a lot more towards the SNES. So the Mega Drive is a great console. There's some awesome titles, obviously, Sonic really kind of rose more to fame throughout the Mega Drive era. There were some fantastic Sonic games that we saw, but I just feel that the console is not in the top 5 because I have a lot of problems with Mega Drives. I don't know if it's just me, I'm kind of plagued, but my Mega Drives have always broke, so maybe I'm just a little bit biased. I don't like the games as much, I do prefer like your Zeldas and your Marios, for example, and obviously the colour palette was a lot less than what it was on the SNES, so I think the actual power of that as a 16-bit console didn't shine as much for me, and that is the main reason why it is at number 7. number 6, the Nintendo GameCube. Now, I was in university when the Nintendo GameCube came out, and I first saw it when I popped round to a friend's house ad hoc and dropped in, and he was playing Wind Waker, and I was just like, wow, this is awesome, this is great. Not a fan of the game, by the way, but console nonetheless is at number 6. Now, again, it's a loose reason as to why it's at number 6. I'm a huge fan of the Mario Kart series, and as with any Nintendo console, you're gonna get your fair share of Mario Kart, and Double Dash is a fantastic game, and I think it still feels quite new on the GameCube today. In fact, playing a lot of GameCube games still feels incredibly fresh to me, almost as if it's not a retro kind of console. I love the 4-player element as well. I think that's absolutely great, and you know, aside from iffy games for me like Mario Sunshine, and you know, I'm not a fan of the cel shading on Wind Waker, there are some awesome titles, most of which are quite difficult to get right now, but nonetheless I collect GameCube games because I play them, not because I want to collect them. So my GameCube collection is pretty damn small, but I'm happy with it, and I do enjoy jumping on the GameCube, guys. It is number 6. Number 5 then is the PlayStation 1. Yes, the PlayStation 1. Now, I don't feel we will ever see a graphical jump like we did from the 16-bit up to the 32-bit era. And I first experienced that on Porsche Challenge with my brother one Christmas. I don't remember if it was 96 or 97 when he had the PlayStation for Christmas, but it was absolutely mind-blowing. You felt like you were playing the most expensive piece of technology ever. And you know, the kind of SNES went by the wayside at that point, and we were just so hooked on the PS1 and so into it, and I'd never thought we would see anything better, but obviously now we have the PS4. Things have progressed significantly, obviously, but I think the fact that it was the jump from the 16-bit up to the 32-bit and the transition happened like that blew my mind. Resident Evil, for example, when that zombie turns around, the first zombie you see in Resident Evil, and the eye, wow, what a moment. This is a great machine, and it's a solid entry at number 5. Number 4 then, guys, is the sister, or the brother rather, if we're looking at diversity, the PlayStation 2. Like I just said with the PS1, the graphical jump was amazing from 16 to 32-bit. It was still fantastic from 32 right up to, you know, 128 on the PlayStation 2. And games like Dark Cloud, wow, we could actually play these awesome 3D RPGs, and that just kind of blew my mind. It took racing games, RPGs, first-person shooters to the next level, and obviously it kind of opened doors for just I think a lot changed when the PS2 came out. It was a crazy phase. Grand Theft Auto, there we go, Grand Theft Auto. I was looking for something in my mind, the sandbox element. You know, there's a powerful machine, and the notion of playing DVDs on a console, holy shit. So that was pretty tasty, and that took up a lot of my time throughout university, and we had some great nights on the PS2, and I still play it today. I absolutely love it. Final Fantasy X is my all-time favourite PS2 game. It is at number 4. Number 3 then, top 3, let's go. It is an 8-bit console, and we've already talked about the Master System, so that leaves the Nintendo Entertainment System at number 3. The reason it's at my number 3 is because I do find that the software runs a hell of a lot smoother, and it's not as buggy, and it doesn't crash as much, you know, on the NES. For example, here is Double Dragon on the NES. I'm going to pop it right there. Here is Double Dragon on the Master System. Both fantastic games, an incredibly difficult series. Double Dragon on the NES plays a lot smoother. I love the graphics. The graphics seem a hell of a lot richer, and the definition seems a lot richer. Everything seems well packaged on the Double Dragon on the NES as opposed to Double Dragon on the Master System. And because of the stability of the software and the hardware, I'm definitely kind of giving the Nintendo a top 5 slots. And I adore games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I really enjoyed the arcade. I have them kind of somewhere here merged in. There it is, Turtles arcade game, one of my favourite games. Kung Fu again. It all feels fantastic on the NES. And I also prefer I recently bought the NES Advantage stick, the joystick, which again, the peripherals on the NES feel a lot more kind of stable and steady, and hardy than what they do on the Master System, so it is at my top 3. I love the NES. What more can I say? Number 2 then, guys, is a next-gen console, and it has to be the PlayStation 4. Now we're in the next-gen era, and there's not a lot I can say about the PS4. We know about the graphics, we know it's 1080p, HD, and amazing games, exclusive games coming out on the PS4. You know, Uncharted 4, for example, is just a game that I think everybody needs to play, and it's a PS4 exclusive. I prefer the exclusives, I prefer the stability of the hardware, I prefer PS Plus. I just absolutely adore the PlayStation 4. I prefer the controllers and the ergonomics on the PlayStation 4 controllers as opposed to, say, Xbox One, for example. And I play my PS4 constantly. In fact, if you guys want to add me on PSN, I'll just chuck my PSN in the description. But I couldn't go through a top 10 console list without having this amazing console in it. So it's my number 2. Which brings us down to my all-time favourite console. So some of you may have skipped the video to this point, so here it is. This is my number 1.
Nothing prepares you for the amazing new Super Nintendo Entertainment System. You won't believe the power. You won't believe the control. You won't believe the jumps, the curves, or the feeling you get until you experience it for yourself.
Whoa! That's fast!
F-Zero for the ultimate G-Force only in the next generation from Nintendo. Now you're playing with superpower.
For those of you that follow my channel, it's probably no surprise that the Super Nintendo Entertainment System is at my number 1. Fortunately, I'm going to the States in June, and I plan on going crazy buying NTSC SNES bundles, games, peripherals, you name it, because I have the PAL, and I don't even care they're the same console. I just want an NTSC SNES console so bad. I grew up on it. I had the All Stars box. I had a lot of games for the SNES as a kid. I used to kind of trade a lot in our second-hand shop. It holds the most memories for me. All of my friends had a SNES back in the day, so again, we were kind of involved in this Super Nintendo kind of culture, you know, kind of where I grew up. And I just find that it holds its value pretty well. You know, I mean, I have about 50 to, I think maybe nearer 60 SNES titles now back here, and I could get 60 more, 70, I could just go forever with SNES. Nothing ever, I mean, even if I see that one of the worst SNES games, I don't care, because it's a SNES game, I'll just buy it. It's like a soccer title or something, it doesn't matter. And that's how much the SNES holds its value. People just want to buy SNES games, they want the controllers, you know, they want the Famicom as well, part of the family which I've got up here. It's just great, it's just absolutely awesome. So it is my number 1. I love the SNES colours as well. I love the PAL SNES colours, so not the kind of purpley lilacs, but the blue, green, yellow and red. So I've kind of rambled there, but the SNES I have loads of passion for, and I want to know what your top consoles are. So why don't you guys drop me that, you know, your top 10, your top 5, even your top 3 in the comments. Hit like on my Facebook group, come and join me on Twitter, check out my blog. I've got loads going on, guys. If you have any questions or recommendations, let me know. But that's my top 10, so thank you for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon.